I want to touch on Mortal Kombat. I watched I watched the video, and I thought the video was going to be kind of negative with Mortal Kombat. I was really surprised with how the video turned out, because it was Mr. GG's Mortal Kombat review. I have an entirely different issue with Mortal Kombat 2021. So I have a few notes, things I wanted to address from, what he had to say regarding the movie. Sorry, I'm trying to get my screen back. So one of the things that I like, because at first, like I said, where he ended, kind of his review discussion, whatever you want to call it, was not how it started out. Because at first it started out and I was like, all right, who is this dork? He's obviously played way too many Mortal Kombat games. I've never heard of half the characters that were, in the movie. And, and this guy's, I think he's nitpicking on stuff like I don't think this movie, I don't really feel like the movie was made for, like, I played every Mortal Kombat game and I know everything about everything there is to know about Mortal Kombat, because I've seen people complain about that. And I'm like, I really don't want to hear it, right? So I mean, like, I feel like the movie is for people who are either new to Mortal Kombat or they're loosely familiar with Mortal Kombat, right? I had somebody tell me, and because I posted my review on my other channel, Golden Bell Training, most like martial arts movies, if I see them and want to do a review, I'm going to post them there. Just, it's mostly Star Wars stuff here on this channel, and a little bit of Marvel, but I mean, most of y'all that are subscribed up to this point, I don't know what will happen in the future. If I just do a podcast, then who knows who will listen? Maybe people who like everything. But like I'm like legit, like I get press screeners for martial arts movies to review. I got a press screener for Ip Man 4, a few days before it came out in the theaters. I didn't do the review because I was in Malaysia at the time. I watched it, and by the time I got back, I got busy, and New Year's, and had family visiting, and it just didn't happen. The chick who played Paige Tico in The Last Jedi, she's done a lot of martial arts movies in Vietnam. Fury. Yeah, she did the movie Fury. I got a press screener for that, a Vietnamese martial arts movie. That was dope. Companies wrote me and they were like, are you still going to do this? And I was like, I think I'm going to do it on a new channel. And I just haven't touched bases with them yet. But yeah, from now on, I'm going to do that stuff on Golden Bell Training, because that channel is more for martial arts and martial arts geeks, and they would probably get more out of that than people that just care about pretty much Star Wars only, right? So that review is there. It's non-spoiler, but I saw this movie like 2-3 weeks before it came out in the US, because it came out on April the 8th here in Thailand. I think it didn't come out in the US until the 23rd, and it just came out last week in the UK, so it's new there. Sorry for folks in the UK that had it spoiled and everything, because people were talking about it. But like I said, I didn't feel like, well, I said this in my review. I said that there's a new character, Cole Young, played by Louis Tan, and I'm not with the, these Mortal Kombat dorks who don't like Cole Young, right? Because I ride with Louis Tan. I probably would not have seen this movie if Louis Tan hadn't been in it. I would just been like, oh, Mortal Kombat movie. Okay. I'll see it when it's, maybe I'll buy the digital download version and, watch it, Google Play Store, iTunes, whatever, but, Louis Tan being in it. Hey, I go hard in the paint for Louis Tan, right? Like I said, I didn't know who he was till the controversy with Iron Fist, and then one of my friends posted something on Facebook about him. You know, like they had history with his dad. His dad is you know, kind of well known in the stunt martial arts community out in LA. So then I was like, oh, I gotta check this dude out. And at that time, he, you know, wasn't a big star like now, where, you know, if you said something to him on Twitter like, oh man, I love your character in Into the Badlands, and you know, he, oh man, thanks, that's awesome. And if you followed him on Instagram, you know, you could DM him and everything else. He was like a regular person that's really good at martial arts and on a TV show that I liked, right? But you know, like I mentioned, if you don't know, I mentioned, you know, the controversy around Iron Fist because he auditioned for the part of Danny Rand. You know, there was the big story. There was a guy who was half Chinese, you know, who auditioned for that part, had a martial arts background, and was told, you know, Danny Rand can't be Asian. And then they cast Finn Jones, who sucked. He looked like Danny Rand, but sucked. It is what it is, right? Jessica Henwick showed him up, right? It was like, you look forward to her fight scenes, and then you're like, Danny, just put your glowing hand away. We don't really want to see you. Just make this show about Jessica Henwick. You know what? Just make her Iron Fist, right? So he had auditioned for the part that he didn't get it. They cast him as his drunken master to fight Danny in one episode, and he was like a caricature Hong Kong movie martial arts guy, and that was it, right? And you know, and he showed up, Finn Jones, in the episode where he fought him. Like, it was like you weren't convinced that I don't think Danny could actually beat that guy. I think he should have won the fight, but it's your show, right? Whose name is on the title screen. So you know, I followed him Into the Badlands, and you know, every week the show would come on and we'd be, oh man, Lewis, you know, and he'd be responding, right? He was really cool like that. Him and Sherman Augustus, right? You could message either of them. Matter of fact, I'm Facebook friends with Sherman. And then later I found out that Sherman studied under Lewis's dad, so there was like a connection with those two, right? So then it was like, oh man, that's cool, they like are connected. So I'm just really not with the Cole Young hate. Like I had somebody, I think somebody tried to jump in one of my tweets to him where Lewis responded. They're like, oh, that guy can't act, and I was like, block. Like, I'm just not with it. Who are you anyway, right? You know, it's really hard when you're a martial artist. It's hard to be a martial artist and a good actor, right? And so, like with Bruce Lee, you know, people say, oh, he wasn't a real martial artist, he was an actor. I don't want to say too much because I've got this whole series I'm doing on Bruce Lee. Everything that, you know, that somebody would probably want to know about Bruce Lee, I'm covering in those videos. But I'm going to say this, right? Say, Bruce Lee, was he just an actor or was he a martial artist? It's like, why can't you be both? How come you can only be good at one thing? Maybe you're only good at one thing, but most people have done multiple things throughout their life, right? Michael Jordan was good at baseball when he was a kid, right? And then he became Michael Jordan, in the NBA, graded the GOAT, right? 6 championships, 6 finals MVPs, stick his tongue out, dunk from the free throw line, was number 3 all-time scoring. And then, and Karl Malone moved past him, and Kobe moved past him, and now LeBron has moved past him. Right? Records are made to be broken. But you get my point. Like, Michael Jordan was good at baseball as a kid. He was a good football player, and then basketball is where he really excelled, right? And now he's older and he's an NBA executive, and he's a businessman with his own division of Nike, a Jordan brand, and playing more golf, right? Runs all kinds of businesses besides just, being a part owner of the Charlotte Hornets and I don't know, not really general manager, but sort of. And, you know, you do other things, right? Many people are multifaceted, right? Bruce was a child actor, and then the acting part, the roles dried up. And Bruce used to get in a lot of trouble, right? If you really want the story on that, Golden Belt Training, look up my video, why was Bruce Lee in a gang in Hong Kong? Or did Bruce Lee join a gang? I don't know, I've changed the title several times. But it's a video about Bruce Lee being in gangs in Hong Kong and how he was a troublemaker. They called him Teddy Boys. Bruce Lee was a Teddy Boy. He was one of the biggest Teddy Boys in his school, right? He got in a lot of trouble. You know, he got in street fights. You know, he ran with a gang. He did all kinds of stuff. I think I tell a story in that video about how Bruce Lee and his friend, like they snuck into the movies and got in trouble, and so they got back at the ticket taker who, you know, punished them when they snuck into the movies. If you want to know what they did, you have to go watch the video, because I'm not going to tell you here. Golden Belt Training, that's the name of the channel. So Bruce, he did all kinds of stuff, and what used to keep him from getting into trouble was acting. Then the roles dried up, so he had to find something else, some other way to stay out of trouble. What was it? Going to Ip Man, studying Wing Chun kept him out of trouble, right? Until Ip Man started encouraging them to go out and test their Wing Chun. Then they started getting in trouble again, because they'd start pulling people, bumping into them on the sidewalk, and hey man, they dress up funny in funny clothes, get other Teddy Boys who didn't study kung fu to kind of start picking on them. Why you dress like that, man? You look like, you know, dress like somebody from the Ming Dynasty or something. And then they, oh, you making fun of me? And then they, oh, you making fun of me? And then they try to get them to start to provoke them so they could start, you know, opening up a can of chain punches on them, right? So, you know, it was like he would do these things. He was acting to stay out of trouble. Then the acting roles dried up. Started studying kung fu to stay out of trouble, but he was always still getting in trouble. The parents were like, "Yo, man, we're sending you to America. You're getting in too much trouble," right? The police had him on a list, right? These are juvenile delinquents that we think might join a gang when they get out of school, or if they quit going to school. He was on a list, right? Found out he was on the list. He had to get himself off the list in order to be able to go to America. And then he told his homeboy, "Hey man, you're on that list too." And that dude was like, "Yo man, that's from running with you being your homeboy." And so he had to get himself off the list, even though he wasn't leaving to go to America. But yeah, he was getting in trouble. That's why he was just an actor, and he didn't act his way in America. He fought his way in America, right? And then we was like, well, what are you going to do when you go to the US? I'm going to teach Kung Fu. Well, you don't know enough Kung Fu to open a school. Well, they don't know that. So he went and learned a little bit of Northern Shaolin to learn fancy kicking stuff. And he was like, I'll learn the form and that'll impress people because I don't know enough Wing Chun, right? So when he came, his intentions were, I'm gonna teach Kung Fu in America. That's how I'm gonna make it, right? Doesn't sound like an actor to me, right? How did he get back into acting? Kung Fu, right? Ed Parker's tournament. It's not like the Dragon, the Bruce Lee story told you. Now I got to stop because this is stuff I'm going to do videos on. But, you know, if you watch Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, he fights, I don't know the guy's name. It's supposed to have been Wong Jack Man's brother. That never happened. That never happened. See, this will turn into a video how Bruce Lee the Dragon story lied to you, but this needs to go on my other channel, Golden Belt Training. So I'm not going to go into all of that, but I'll just say that, you know, somebody saw him who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody that was looking for a similar role, and they approached Bruce Lee and they were like, yo man, we're doing this movie and we need a character who's going to be like the Chinese James Bond, right? That segs right back into Mortal Kombat, right? So Bruce Lee was initially supposed to be in a detective spy movie where he was going to be the Chinese James Bond. He knew I was kung fu, and he had, he'd been a child actor and this and that. So like I said, Bruce Lee, martial artist or actor, he did both. He was an actor. He got into martial arts. He never intended to get back into acting, and then martial arts got him discovered. And when the roles dried up in acting, it was martial arts that sustained him. And then, and then he finally went back to Hong Kong and what? And we got, Enter the Dragon, The Big Boss, and Return of the Dragon, or Way of the Dragon, and Game of Death, and yeah, we got Bruce Lee's Kung Fu movies. But it was all because he was discovered and somebody wanted him to play a Chinese James Bond. How does that seg back into Mortal Kombat? Because of this movie, Louis Tan's name is in the spotlight now. He's got interviews, Esquire magazine, Playboy magazine. He is getting his shine on. My dude. I tweeted him and said, bro, you're getting ready to be the next Bruce Lee. He didn't respond. He probably won't hear this, but Louis was offered a part. He's going to be leading a series, and the character is like an Asian James Bond. What part was Bruce Lee initially offered from the Ed Parker's Kung Fu martial arts karate tournament, whatever, Long Beach? Was that with the 1965 or 67 one? I think it was the 65 one. Right? He wasn't signed to the Green Hornet after beating Wong Jack Man's brother like the Bruce Lee story told you. Jason Scott Lee. That's not what happened. Right? But Louis Tan been offered a part that sounds a lot like the part that Bruce Lee was supposed to play. The role. Right? Because it's not the same thing. But the role. But we got these people out here, these Mortal Kombat fans, hating on my dude, and it's like, I looked at I never read We Got This Covered, but I wanted to look at it because We Got This Covered has comments, and so the comments are obviously full of people who believe this nonsense, right? And so We Got This Covered had this article out that the studio made them write in Cole Young's character, and so these idiots in the comment section, they're like taking it racial, and they're like, oh, we've gotta like get rid of the white man, right? Because they're upset that there's no Johnny Cage, and it's like, well, like Johnny Cage is in the movie, sort of. But they hadn't seen the movie yet, so I'm wondering what do they say now that like this is setting up multiple movies. I think there's something like 4 spin-offs planned at this point. But it's like I see like a lot of people that are attacking the movie attack Cole Young, right? Because they're upset that Cole Young was not Johnny Cage, and it's the same thing that happens in Star Wars. Your fan theories were wrong, so now you got to attack this character. And I'm like, you're not going to attack the person, because look, man, you're not going to run Louis Tan off the internet like you would with Kelly Marie Tran, right? This dude got hands and feet for real. You're not going to troll this dude, one, because of so many women, and not like little girls, but grown women. Right, like I mean, if you're an incel, you probably don't care about committing social suicide when you have these hordes of angry women coming after you, because you're an incel, for whatever reason you don't like women anyway, right? That's why you're an incel, right? So I guess these guys are home with their controllers fapping off to Melina and some other Sonya Blade, who's based on Cynthia Rothrock. But if you put down a controller and actually pay attention to martial arts stuff, that, right? That's I mean, I'm not like trying to call people dorks and geeks and make fun of them, because everybody's a geek on some level, right? If you're listening to this, you're a geek on some level, even me, right? But I'm a geek when it comes to martial arts and more specifically Chinese kung fu, right? But I describe this movie as being for people who like cheesy kung fu movies that know a little bit about Mortal Kombat. If you're a hardcore Mortal Kombat fan, you're probably not gonna like the movie. I mean, I hope you did, but it seems like a lot of them didn't, right? They said they were disappointed. And I'm like, well, if you go into this with some kind of expectation and that expectation's not met, that's on you, right? Lose the expectation and just have the experience. But that concept seems to be fly over a lot of folks' heads. You know, I had people say they don't understand Cole's golden armor and this and that. I'm like, you know what? His golden armor is golden bell technique. It's a Shaolin skill, right? Think about it. Cole Young spends time with Liu Kang and what's your boy's name, played by Max Wong, who for some reason I thought Max Wong was like some kid from a boy band. I thought he was a kid from a boy band. I had no idea that this dude was 32 years old and he was a member of Jackie Chan's stunt team, right? So that's pretty dope. But Lewis Tan's his Arcana ability, sorry, I'm like clicking all over because I can't remember. There it is. I couldn't remember where it was. This is a Shaolin skill. So he's been hanging out with Liu Kang and Max Wong, the Shaolin Knights, right? And so it's only appropriate he has this Golden Bell skill. Golden Bell is a real thing. It's in my art, Ely Chin. So when I'm like, yeah, man, if you really want to understand Star Wars and be like the closest thing to a Jedi, train Ely Chin. And y'all are like, I don't want to train any crazy karate. And why do I need it? Well, don't do it. You know, don't do it. I never said you had to. I just said if you want to really understand this stuff on a deeper level, Ely Chin, Sam Chin's Kung Fu, Zong Shin Dao, ElyChin.com. Check it out. Right, but you know, if you don't want to sweat and train cool kung fu, you don't have to. You don't have to understand this stuff, but then you can't cry because it doesn't make sense when it's out there, right? So he's got Golden Bell skill, and then he's got these tonfas that have blades on them, and I'm like, he's like this kick-ass Robin with Golden Bell skill, and Golden Bell skill, it means you can take hits. And somebody was like, I hope it's not like the Black Panther thing. I don't really know. I think maybe he absorbs the hits and then, you know, builds up his arcana and makes him more powerful. He can manifest his power from different ways, from taking a beating, basically, which falls in line with his character. He's a down and out MMA fighter who at one point had been a world champion in whatever organization he was in, but then he just kind of fell off for whatever reason. Maybe he started a family and, you know, it was like he just fell off, right? We don't know. He had doubts, right? And so he's got this connection to Scorpion and Sub-Zero, and that is really the story. Is he's the chosen one in this particular story, but he also serves as like this character to introduce this version of the Mortal Kombat story to the audience, right? And so like when people say, well, Shang Tsung is not a convincing villain, and all I see is the guy from Batman, the dude who squeals, and it's like, well, you know, I can understand that. If you can't see this guy, this actor, as a convincing villain, go watch Marco Polo. Go watch his character as he took people apart with Northern Menace, beat the brakes off of many people, right? Killed many Mongolians in that series. He was the big bad guy of the season, right? And 1,000 Eyes had to take him out, and they had an epic fight. Right, but that dude was straight up scary. He'd kick your butt. He was the baddest thing out there, right? I mean, I'd never seen Northern Menace like that. It was dope, right? So, you know, before the next Mortal Kombat movie comes out, go see that, and that'll give you some idea of what to let you know that, hey man, like Shang Tsung didn't do anything much in this movie, but my boy got them hands. He got them hands. Trust me, it's coming. If he has to fight, he's gonna be a problem. In addition to him being able to suck your soul out, but he wasn't the big bad guy. Like I said, there's just like four spin-offs supposed to be coming. Maybe they come, we'll see. But he wasn't the villain in this movie. He was just there to let you know, like, this is Outworld. There's more to this. And he basically says at the end of the movie, like, you know, death is only a portal, right? It's not the end. So everybody that died can totally come back. I can bring them back. I know how. I got that mastery to make it happen, right? This movie was really about this dude. His rivalry, Bi-Han and Hanzo, right? And Louis Tan, you know, because the movie starts out that way, right? Bi-Han's crew, they come through, they take out Hanzo's crew, kill his family. His daughter gets hidden away. Raiden comes in, finds the baby, you know, teleports her away, and now Hanzo's bloodline continues to live, and Hanzo's bloodline, out of that is the chosen one who will stop Outworld from invading Earthrealm. That's the story, right? And so it's like this guy's failure, and so it's like, I will finish what you started, right? Except I am Sub-Zero, right? I'm no longer Bi-Han, right? He's got to finish what he failed. He failed, right? And so now there's a big question mark here, because he failed, right? Well, and what does that mean if Shang Tsung brings him back? If you know see, this is where it's good to know Mortal Kombat. Sub-Zero's got a brother, right? Where's his brother? There's more to the clan, right? Well, what's going to happen there? And if Sub-Zero returns, what's his part to play in the next story, right? How did he go into hell and survive all of this? Like, who is he? What is he at this point? What side is he on? What side is he fighting on? There's so many questions there, and I'm like, I don't know, like, why, you know, like this movie is just excuse me, the first part of a chapter. I'm like getting hiccups and everything. I need to cut this off soon, right? And then, you know, people were upset Liu Kang is toned down. I said this in my review. If I had done a full review, I don't feel like I need to, because everything I would have said I'm saying now. Liu Kang, this Liu Kang played by Ludi Lin, is a different character from the Robin Show Liu Kang. Robin Show Liu Kang was the hero. He was the main character in the story. This Liu Kang is on a hero's journey, right? He's very connected to Kung Lao, right? This is my brother, right? They're the Shaolin Knights, right? And this Ludi Lin is like a Shaolin Farriga. I mean, he's vegan and he's very soft spoken. The character who played the actor who played the character, right? Very cool dude. I watched a Men's Health video of them talking about you know, what kind of foods he eats as a vegan martial arts actor. He studies Brazilian jiu-jitsu, very athletic, you know, cool guy, right? Very ripped out of his mind physique, right? But he's toned down. People had an issue with that. Look at the connection that he has with Shang Tsung. I thought he said that his arcana was tied to him. And then what happened? Shang Tsung, Kung Lao. And then we know what happened to Kung Lao. If you don't, then, you know, go see the movie. But, you know, the Kung Lao didn't quite, Shang Tsung had something to say about your boy, right? And so it's like, yeah, this movie is about Cole Young and his journey. You know, he had to discover his arcana and be the chosen one. But Liu Kang is obviously going to play a part in this story, right? He had to tap into his own inner power to really tap in his arcana, because he said it was tied to Kung Lao, and Kung Lao's not there. Now he has to learn how to fight and how to be a leader without Kung Lao, because really Kung Lao was the man, he was the guy, he was the dude, he was the man, right? And it's like, now you got to figure out how to step up in the absence of him, right? You got to learn how to be a light unto your own self, the Buddha's famous last words, right? You can't rely on him anymore. You gotta be a leader on your own. So when people are upset because he's not Robin Show's Liu Kang, well, he wasn't gonna be that initially. The minute he's introduced and he says, you know, this is my brother, we're connected, we're tied, I'm tied to him, it's like, okay, well, you're not that guy who can stand on their own and be a leader the same way Robin Show's Liu Kang was. Now, maybe in future movies with the progression of the character, he'll be more assertive, he'll be that guy too. But it's like, well, how many people can be that guy, right? If they're bringing in Johnny Cage, it's like, well, you're gonna have to deal with Johnny Cage being Johnny Cage, and if they make it as cheesy as they can, all right, well, you got a movie where you've got this martial arts movie star in a movie, and you would expect him to be the diva and, I don't know, maybe try to break the fourth wall or something, like, you know, let me make sure the camera's focused on me, right? That would be something cool, right? So I don't know, it's like geeks doing what geeks do. They're upset about this thing, and I'm like, this is kind of an origin story, right? And it's really set up, it's really based around these two characters, right? Louis Tan is because Cole Young is because of what went on with these two characters, right? And yeah, it's Mortal Kombat. There's the fight, Outworld trying to invade Earthrealm, but it's really about these two, and because Sub-Zero failed, you know, he presented the opportunity for Scorpion's bloodline, Hanzo's bloodline, to continue, which brings about the downfall of or brings the victory to Earthrealm. And now, now you can go and, I guess, do the Mortal Kombat that people were hoping to see in this movie, right? They got to go find new warriors and refill the ranks, and Shang Tsung's got to change things up and get more powerful people, right, to present more of a challenge to the heroes of Earthrealm. So, I thought it was dope. I thought it was a cool movie.